begin your Op Art Cyclone, just make sure that you have a placemat under your work and that you have a Sharpie that is set and ready to go. Now, what I told students to do was trace your overall lines in the Ultra Fine Point Sharpie. So that's the flat cap, it's the really small tip. Trace your lines in that Sharpie first, and then for general lines, the general lines of the cyclone, which would be this main line here that loops around, this main line here that loops around, I would use the regular fine point Sharpie that looks like this, okay? Now, in the interest of time, I've done a couple things. I traced this person's work in the fine point Sharpie, okay? So one that's a little bit thicker so it would show up better on camera. And to fill in, I am using a larger scale chisel tip, okay? So just so I don't waste our time. What you're going to do to create the Op Art illusion here is you're going to fill in every other space with Sharpie. Some students have filled this in with pencil ahead of time. I do not know if this person's lines will match up. Okay, this is just a student example. But I am going to start by adding Sharpie in a corner. So every other space will be the black of the Sharpie, okay? If this becomes more complicated once we start to curve around on the cyclone, okay? Now, while I'm filling this in, I'll just share with you a little bit about the next steps. So after you have some of your sections Sharpied in, we're going to address the sections that are the white. So what we're going to start practicing is using alcohol marker, which is kind of like similar to a colored Sharpie. It's got a little bit more ink. It's also a permanent marker. But we're going to blend a couple colors together for that to create some depth or some shading through color within our Op Art Cyclone. Now I'm gonna pause this here because at this point in time, the design gets a little bit tricky. So I've got this white area here. This next area is my black stripe. Note that my black stripe curves around. Okay, so it starts over here, curves up, okay, and then it curves all the way around. And some of these stripes too, because they're curved, go off and on the paper, okay? So if you're not exactly sure what, if it goes on or off the paper, you can stop your Sharpie where you're not sure. This I can see it comes all the way off the paper and back on, so I know this is part of this particular curve. Right? All right, okay. This one is white, this one is black here, so again, I am following this curve. It starts all the way over here and eventually it's going to go up and over and around. And again, I'm not sure if it's going to match up. This is not my piece here. This is just a sample. Okay, so it curves up and around. And ends here. Okay, so this is looking pretty good so far. This one here is white. It goes all the way around. This one here is black. This one goes a little bit off the page on this side, but I can still tell that this is part of the same stripe. Now I'm going to follow this around. And again, make sure it matches up. Yep, it does. Okay, and then this one over here is white. This one here is black. I'm not sure how this meets up on this side, so I'm just going to do this one here, just for now. Okay, white here, black here. Okay, And then I have 2 white ones in a row. I've got 2 options for this. I can either make a mini triangle here that represents the black stripe if I would like. I think I'm going to opt for that. Or I could extend this other black area and make it much larger. Okay, so I added that triangle in just because I had 2 areas in a row that were the same color. All right, so at this point, I can finish up my cyclone here. So I've got the pattern extending up here. This stripe is my white one. This one is my black one. It curves around and it ends here. You can see that my Sharpie is starting to get a little bit tired, so sometimes that happens. If you're using one marker for an extended period of time, like I am, put the cap on it, give it a rest, pick up another one, and just keep going. Okay, this one is white, this one is black. Okay, this one is white. Then I have these over here, so I'm going to do white, black, white, black, white, black, and done. Okay. Now, before you're ready for the marker version, so using alcohol markers, I want you to double check your design for the following things. Do you have any lighter areas, okay, within your design that you need to give another coat of Sharpie to? Do you have any sort of wiggly Sharpie lines, all right, where you need to just take your time, go back in, and even out those lines? Okay, the more precise you can make your piece, the more it's going to look like a piece of optical illusion art. Okay, so make those 2 changes before you are ready for the color alcohol marker.